are joined by our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, joining us on the broadcast, a senior member of our team. And, Dad, I know you've got questions right away.
I do. And, Mike, we're going to get to the situation with China, but we've been talking about this news that broke that Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority, is basically threatening terrorism again because he's not getting his way, and he's being ignored by his Arab neighbors. And he calls it ignored. The fact is you had a total realignment of the Middle East with the passage of the Abraham Accords, and that he feels like he's left out. I raised the point that I actually found yesterday we were going to a meeting and I needed a pad of paper, and I grabbed a portfolio, and in it was the opinion we got from the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Office of the Prosecutor, back in 2012, where I had argued that the Palestinian Authority was not a state, so they're trying to avail themselves of these international tribunals was inappropriate, and the Office of the Prosecutor agreed and would not bring the case. And I'm thinking now they fall back to this let's threaten terrorism model as their way forward, and I don't think their Arab neighbors want that at all. What's your sense of this?
Jay, I think you're right. I think it was remarkable what the ACLJ and you accomplished 10 years ago now. It's hard to believe. But in some ways, the Palestinian leadership, the terrorists, including Abu Mazen, haven't changed, but the world changed. The Middle East changed dramatically. I think they are still living I think the Palestinian leadership is still living in a world where they believe that if they throw a temper tantrum, right, launch Molotov cocktails, run to the wall, conduct terror campaigns, that the Middle Eastern countries will come alongside them and support them. I think the Middle Eastern countries can see that they are not serious about delivering good outcomes for their own people, for the Arabs that live in the land that they control. And I think those days are behind them. It doesn't mean for a second Abu Mazen is going to stop doing what he's done. He only knows one model: steal, thief, and terror. He'll probably continue that way until he passes from the world stage. But make no mistake about it, the world changed. Israel's position has changed. I hope the United States will continue to support Israel in its efforts to keep the area under Palestinian control secure and peaceful. And we won't let this threat of terror impact the way we interact with not only the Israelis, but the Arab countries in the Gulf states as well.
Secretary Pompeo, you've got a new piece up at ACLJ.org titled "The CCP is America's Adversary. Biden and Apple Must Stand Against It." Does the way the U.S. government and business interact with China reflect the reality that they are an adversary? I mean, it feels like that just every day they're becoming more and more of like an enemy to the United States.
No, unfortunately, Jordan, too many in the business community and the Biden administration continue to adhere to an idea that may have been true in 1972 when we opened relations with China, but just is fundamentally untrue today. Xi Jinping views himself as an adversary of the United States. He wants global hegemony. And the Biden administration and big corporate America still continue to do what they've been doing for the last decades: engagement as a theory of making China less risky. That's just not going to work. The risk to the United States is too great, and we must continue to confront them in the technology space, in the diplomatic space, in the broader economic world, and certainly be prepared for what is clearly a Chinese military aggressive campaign in the South Pacific. We have to be prepared in each of those realms. And if we do that well, we will push back against the threat the Chinese Communist Party presents to us today, and America will get another 250 good years. If we don't, Katie, bar the door.
Mike, is China right now, country-wise, the greatest threat to the United States?
Undoubtedly. The singular external threat to the United States. If our lives are going to change materially by someone from outside, it will be Xi Jinping and his communist fellow travelers that do that.
Let me ask you this. Senator Barrasso sent a letter to the President Biden's energy secretary demanding answers surrounding a $200 million grant to a lithium battery company that operates primarily out of China. Senator Barrasso claims that the DOE is acting in a manner that, quote, undermines and endangers our national security. Do you think that his warning, the senator's warnings, will be heard by this administration?
I doubt it. They are working on that's part of their climate change green agenda. The fact that the Chinese Communist Party is controlling the business that we're giving U.S. taxpayer dollars to, which is what I think Senator Barrasso is suggesting, is nuts and dangerous all at the same time. I suspect they're not going to change their way. This one feels very dangerous to me. And in the effort to build out a lithium product that goes into batteries and EV vehicles, they're prepared to sacrifice American security. That is an enormous mistake.
You know, I want to point out that when you write a piece for ACLJ.org, that is just for ACLJ.org. It's exclusive content for our supporters that go to our website. And in this case, it's the CCP is America's adversary. Biden and Apple must stand against it. I want to turn to Apple. You point out in the piece that Apple made changes to its devices that only affected China to the detriment of the protesters' ability to organize and share information. And we saw some of the questioning Tim Cook was ignoring when he was on Capitol Hill. Are you concerned that American companies are complicit in strengthening the CCP and its put down of basic human rights?
Oh, they clearly have been, many of them, whether it was what Disney did in filming in Xinjiang, what Apple did in denying protesters the basic ability to use the Apple product that they sell everywhere in the world to share information amongst themselves. They would say, boy, we're just conforming with local laws. But you and I both know when something happens here in the United States, they are the first ones to the ramparts to push back against it. While they'll comply with American law, they're the first ones to say we think this is unjust, and they don't do that. If they'd complied with Chinese law but told the Chinese Communist Party this is indecent, unethical, and these protesters have the freedom to protest, it would be one thing. But they've not done that. They comply and go silent, and that is, in fact, complicity with the Chinese Communist Party's attempt to oppress its own people.
Mike, we appreciate your insight and appreciate your wisdom in all of these issues. Thanks for being with us.